Tyler, today is the day. It's happened. Everything that I've been teasing for months and lying to the
Yeah.
people saying, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen in October. No, November, maybe December. Finally happening. January. I'm not a liar.
January 23rd,
Hell yeah.
special
I,
guest episode. First ever special guest episode of Knowing Ball.
and you know what? He'll be here in just a minute.
Yep. Arriving shortly.
Do we have to fill air now or are we going to be
I mean, that was like kind of the idea, right? The funny thing is we were talking for like 5 minutes straight before this,
about
and
things that
now it's like, all
actually
right,
worked?
all right, the camera's on. It's time to actually talk, like do what we're here to do. And it's like, wait.
And then we shit the bed. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That was
We were just talking about how Ben Johnson is a sellout and he is a scumbag and he can honestly go fuck himself. If we're being honest, if I'm keeping it 100 with everyone here, that's how I feel about him. Um, Aaron Glenn, on the other hand, congrats to him on the full-time job and in New York with the Jets. I hope he, can find some success. Um, obviously not against the Lions, but hopefully he goes on as a decent head coach. We'll see. I'm kind of on the fence on both of them. But Ben Johnson, the move he pulls going to a division rival 2 days after we have a like a gut-wrenching loss, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone is devastated. All of Detroit is devastated. This dude packs his bag, smiles on his face, could care less, and heads straight to Chicago to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And it felt like a smack in the face, honestly. Like obviously, he can take the Chicago job. I'm not going to be a fan of him, since he does or when he does or what obviously he did. Um, but just like horrible timing. Horrible timing. I mean, you got enemies in all of us now, Ben. Like we all hate your guts. Like thank you for what you did here, but now we want to piss on you every time we play you, and we want to own the Bears. So that's where we're at. Like I said, AG, wish you the best. Ben Johnson, we're coming for your throat.
I think it is specifically the leaving 2 days after the loss that kind of just really rubs people the wrong way. Like I
Yeah,
get like going to the division rival and everything, but at the end of the day, the Bears job opening is probably one of the better job openings out there, so it kind of makes sense to want it. I do get
right,
like you don't want to see your guy go to a division rival, but
right.
at the same time, you get to work with a very talented young quarterback.
I mean,
Objectively, they
for
have good
offensive
weapons,
for an offensive mind like him, it's a good fit for him, I would say. I mean, it makes sense that he would want to go to there, out of all
Mm.
of the other head coaching openings.
But the leaving 2 days after really does sell the yeah, your mind wasn't even there during
Yeah.
that divisional round game,
Yep.
which I mean, other than the let's have Jamison Williams throw the ball play call, I don't necessarily think that his play calling was that bad. Like
Right.
they did well. Like it's not he didn't call plays that led to turnovers, right?
Right.
So not that I'm, trying to say like, oh, like he was all there, but like at the same time he
I
still
no, I
did
get what you're saying.
call a
And
decent game,
honestly,
right?
he did fine. He himself did fine. It just like the way he did it, just I think rubs me the wrong way, rubs people the
Mhm.
wrong way in Detroit, especially. We were talking about this right before we started recording, how everyone I kept seeing everyone on Twitter like, or you mentioned this, you're like, act like people act like the Lions fans act like they've never had a coordinator leave before, and it was like what like since JFK they
Since
haven't had a
JFK,
coordinator
yeah.
leave for a head coaching job, so the one reply on Twitter I saw was like they literally haven't
Mhm.
experienced this before. Um, so yeah, that was funny, and it's true, and it's also why it's probably a little bit hard for us to
Mhm.
take. I saw another comment that was like, it wasn't that hard to get rid of Jim Bob Cooter.
Yeah.
When you lose an offensive minded, guru essentially in Ben Johnson, to the division rival, that hurts a little bit, especially 2 days after a playoff loss when you thought it was
Yeah.
going to be your Super Bowl year. So yeah.
Tyler, he's here, man. I think we're gonna put pause on our conversation so we can let him into the room.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest, you might know him on YouTube, Urinating Tree. All right, welcome to the show, Urinating Tree. For everyone that doesn't know, he's a YouTuber. Been following him for quite a couple years. Tree, why don't you take a second to introduce yourself to the fine folks?
Well, my name is Urinating Tree. I've been doing YouTube since, well, sports YouTube since 2016, 2017. I ramble about sports. That's the best way to really describe things. Just a proud owner, apparently, of the Nick Sirianni fan club and 9-8 Super Bowl. We go all the way. Let's go.
It's purple.
Good stuff.
That's funny. I'll kind of hop in for a second. I honestly, Trey, I didn't even I had never heard of you, and then Thomas kind of, was like, hey, I got this YouTuber. I shot him a DM. He said he would hop on. I'm like, let me check him out, and was blown away that I one haven't heard of you because you do have a quite the following on YouTube. And two, I just I looked into a couple of your videos, and I like the kind of content you post. Thomas best described you as a shit poster. That's what he
And
said.
I describe it as that too. I'm a shit poster. That's the best way to really do it.
Yeah, I
Which
mean,
is funny.
I kind of got drawn in on those local videos that you would do, like
The old school ones. Yep.
those are the first ones that I really got drawn in on
Nice.
so many years back. So,
It's always weird to look back on those, like the
mhm,
ones I did 16, 17. You have the ones that didn't age so well, like the 49ers one's been kind of like back and forth, back and forth. You have ones like the Andy Reid one didn't age all that well. And then you have the ones that have just haven't aged a second. The
mhm,
Falcons, the Jets, the Browns, like those ones just haven't aged a bit. The Bears kind of are like back and forth too, and I'm just like, okay. I could have just literally posted the Jets one
mhm.
last week and it would still be just as
It's
accurate.
just
I would just
always
have to change
evergreen
up a few
content.
things about the season. That's all I would have to do.
Yeah, it's evergreen content, really.
Pretty
And
much.
I go back and rewatch them a couple of times just because they're always, yeah, they are relevant. They're always so funny, and it's a stark difference from when you're doing Superman 64 reviews and things
Oh,
like that.
there were older ones too. I had a different channel back in like 07, 08. That was one of the ones I like just randomly brought on just for
Mhm,
like archival purposes. It was a strange time. Let's
mhm.
just put it that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the reasons I always gravitated towards you because I'm a Steelers fan too. So seeing the Days of Our Steelers stuff always really captured my attention, and it just that soap opera, even though Ben and AB and Le'Veon are gone, really has not ended at all.
Yeah, kind of has, but at the same time, it more or less has just kind of been more of a malaise. I
Mhm,
mean, looking at the fan base, this is the most apathetic I've seen it in over 20 years. Because it's just like, ugh, it's like great. Like nothing's gonna change, so it's like, why muster up excitement? I mean, my belief, dude, if they draft Jalen Milrow, I'm gonna flip. Like
That's what I told. That's what I
like
told Thomas they
because I
should
feel like
do.
that's the rumors that are going around. It's like they like Jalen Milrow. I'm like, oh God, like
Well,
he sucks.
the discussion that we had, I think it was last week, Thomas was, obviously talking about how you guys always, Tomlin always gets his, over 500 thing out of the way,
Hmm.
and then you get a, shitty low end draft pick, and you can't really do much. You can't get a quarterback. And he's like, what quarterback am I going to get like in the 20s? And I was like, well, Jalen Milrow might be there.
Jalen
And he was
Milrow.
like, God,
no.
no, please.
Here's the thing, like if he showed me something in college, like I
Right.
might buy it, but he was terrible. You see him in the bowl game, like he had one game against Georgia, and
Jalen
then
Milrow's
and he
stock
wasn't even that great, and then
went
it just like he
from
just fell apart.
He went from very high to completely
I
plummeted
didn't
by the
even
end of
like
his
him
college
before the
career.
bowl game.
Mhm,
I
Right.
didn't think he was that
He
good.
he was on a very, very, big decline at the end of his collegiate career, which is very unfortunate for him because he was, getting talked about so much, and he just absolutely pissed it away.
As I
yeah.
said, I still think he'll get drafted high because of his raw attributes, but I'm like,
Right.
I don't trust the Steelers to even develop this guy. Like they've never had a guy like him since Slash. They never really developed him as a passer either.
Mhm,
And I just don't think Jalen Milrow is any good. I think he just has some speed and attributes, but his arm is just
yeah.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, and their options at quarterback are not great at
Yeah,
all.
there are
You know.
projects this year.
Mhm,
Cam Ward and Shador Sanders, they're not guaranteed things.
mhm.
Like they've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, I mean, Shadur's only been coached by his dad, and Cam Ward obviously had his struggles at Miami too. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right, and they're going to get taken top
One,
five
top
probably.
five, probably
Yeah,
both.
so yeah, it's weird. It's weird how quarterback classes can vary so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
and then
Yeah.
just guys just rise up randomly. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Milroe just surprisingly goes
It
like
wouldn't
12th
shock
or
me. I
something, you
mean,
know?
as I said, it's just like the random ones. There's always like one or two that randomly like jump up draft boards. Happened with JJ McCarthy
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
last
I was going to
year.
say last year they you know, teams were jumping to draft a QB in
Hmm.
the top 10. I mean, Atlanta
Yep.
took Penix, which obviously in hindsight might have been the right call, but
But
still, like, they had
still,
just signed Cousins. They have all these
yeah.
other
And
weapons. They
they
could
had
have
the potential tampering too. That was the
right,
worry.
right, exactly.
But like my thing there is like you could have used that money to sign like Hunter Van Ginkel. That would have helped your pass
Mhm.
rush, but
Yep,
what do I know?
yep.
I mean, you're not going to get six quarterbacks in the first like top 15
Hmm.
picks this year.
No,
You don't have
no,
anyone near that.
not a
Like
chance.
Quinn Ewers is not going in the top 15.
No,
I don't. I think you're going to
definitely
be
not.
safe there. I mean, the only one I can think is maybe Jackson Dart, but it's like he's still more of a project than Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
He had that
Yep.
one throw. Everyone thinks he's going to be like a first round quarterback. I mean, you can see like he's a project. Like that's most of the quarterbacks in this class. They're
right.
projects.
So okay, first, what do you want the Steelers to do at quarterback? But
Ooh.
what do you think they're actually going to end up doing at quarterback?
Question is, the Steelers are in a tough scenario because with the Arthur Smith offense, you rely on a heavy, balanced attack, ground and pound play action. I think what they're going to do is they're probably going to run it back because there's no other real options out there.
Hmm.
Question is, like, unless like Brock Purdy's available, and Brock Purdy, I mean, he would probably work out well in an Arthur Smith offense. He plays that sort of style. But once again, do you want to throw 25, 30 million at Sam Darnold and hope he can,
Hmm.
maintain his first 15 weeks of the season? Do you hope that like a Geno Smith randomly becomes available and you trade for him? I don't think Seattle's going to get rid of him. What else do you have? I mean, Daniel Jones?
I was gonna
No.
say, I mean,
So I think
Rodgers,
what they're
Daniel
going to do,
Jones.
oh God, no Aaron Rodgers. I want him to go to Minnesota to complete the cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah, yep, yeah.
follow in his father's footsteps, as it
Yep,
were.
his father's footsteps. Finish there and mentor JJ McCarthy in the art of not giving a shit.
Mhm.
That's my goal completely. But I think, like, as I said, Wilson, there's nowhere else really for him to go. I mean, unless he wants to be a mentor in New York or Cleveland. But I don't think Cleveland's even going to want to try it. I'll probably stick with Jameis and then have probably a young quarterback or they'll draft Abdul Carter. I think, too, and Fields, I mean, he has offerings, but like the thing is, like he didn't really stretch the field in Pittsburgh. The main
Mhm.
thing, guy who stretched it was Wilson with the moon ball, and that's all he's really got left. So, as I said, I think they'll roll with both, and they'll give Fields a bigger role.
Yeah, it was
Interesting.
interesting to see. They always kept talking, oh, Fields is going to see the field a little bit this
No,
year
no,
still,
no, no,
anyways,
no,
and
no.
then
He did a
they
little
just
bit,
didn't do
and
anything
then
with them.
it's like, oh, we're gonna use plays. He was out there like three times. He
Hmm.
got injured against Washington. I think that did a little bit, but they didn't really utilize him that much. And the thing is, it was predictable because when Fields is in, they're probably gonna run the football.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone ever thought they were going to pass with Fields,
Yeah.
especially because it was always like 3rd and 1 when they would
It
throw
was
him
a
in
third and
there.
short they would do. They probably run an RPO and then he'd roll out to the right.
Mhm.
That's what it would probably be.
Yeah.
It's funny from an outside perspective because I'm a Lions fan. So
I'm
like I
sorry,
don't
dude. My
really
condolences.
right. Yeah, I know. I was gonna say I just watched your congratulations Lions video and I was having Vietnam flashbacks at the gym today
Oof.
of watching that game. But it's okay. We move on. I was gonna
Mhm.
say my roommate is a Steelers fan. So I've always had this like outside perspective of like what it's like to be a fan. And it's funny because he always sheds like all of his grievances and stuff. And obviously, I talk to Thomas frequently about it too. And I mean, yes, it's grim, but me and Thomas were just talking about this before he came in. He was like, we have the last time the Steelers made a AFC championship game was like the first week of Trump's first term or
Yeah, it
whatever.
was
And I was like,
Obama.
oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I was like, well, I mean, I haven't even ever saw an NFC championship game until last
Yeah.
year. So it could always be,
It could always
you
be
know,
one.
Yeah, it
gloomier or
could.
worse or
The
whatever.
thing,
But I get what you're saying though, because Pittsburgh, I mean, notoriously is a winning. It was a winning
yeah,
city, is a winning franchise. So I get
yeah.
the grievances too, though.
It's the grievances, it's more or less that you're stuck in this purgatory
Yeah.
and you're not really bothering to move. You're
Right.
not changing anything. I think that's where the grievance comes in. Because, okay, you tried overhauling the quarterback room, the receiving room, and the O-line room. Offensive line, I mean, didn't really work because you have your Broderick Jones. You've been playing him a right tackle the whole time. He's been a massive disappointment. Dan
Mhm.
Moore is not good. Running back room, you're probably going to overhaul. I don't know if Najee Harris is going to come back. I'm like, he's okay. The 1,000 yard like rushing, it's like the Mike Tomlin no losing
Yeah.
seasons record at this point. Like he has flashes, but at other times it's like Jalen Warren has the more explosive like runs.
Exactly. Yeah. Because
Wide
I mean,
don't they have
receiver
to
room,
average
sometimes.
like 59 yards to get a 1,000 yard season?
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's
With a
nothing.
17 game season. I mean, as I said, like, but and wide receiver room, you tried to bring in Brandon Ayuk, didn't work out. That might have actually been a bullet dodge. He didn't do
Mhm.
much there. You tried to bring in Christian Kirk, he got injured. Mike Williams, they didn't really use him all that much. Like, I mean, he's not the same since his injury, but at the same time, I figured they would have tried to use him a little more. He had a couple moon balls, but that was really about it.
Mhm.
I would say, I mean, and most of the thing is like you're not really gonna alter anything because the main thing, if you look at our playoff appearances, two of the last three, they should have never made it
Mhm.
because Indianapolis and Jacksonville both collapsed. And then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna get in and probably get our asses beat. And now you're in a situation where, okay, this final stretch with Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore, that was your true test to see if you were a true contender or the same old, same old. And then everything went off the rails. And I think the main thing, at least to me, I saw a team that quit. I saw a team that didn't try
Mhm.
against Baltimore. And I'm like, dude, really? Like they were guys who seemed like they were planning their vacations weeks ago. And that's where the concern lies in. It's like it's just a malaise. It's apathy. Like
Mhm.
it's not even like hatred. It's like, look, I've already yelled at Tom at the Steelers. There's no point in yelling at this team. Because quite frankly, it's like I don't think they're worth it right now. But it's just like, okay.
Yeah, and I feel like even if they were to move on from Tomlin, they're just going to go get another defensive guy who's going to come up
Yeah.
with the exact same
Of
philosophy
course.
that
I
Tomlin
mean,
has.
RD2's the real problem
Mhm.
because he's just like he's more interested in being content with, the new standard of mediocrity. Like, because that's what you are. You are a C plus team that's masquerading as an A. If you look at the NFLPA report card, they are near the bottom in a lot of categories. And that goes towards RD2. Like they don't have like a live daycare. I mean, they have a lot of like amenity or lack a lot of amenities that
Mhm.
a lot of other teams have.
Sharing
I
a
know.
locker room fit,
Yep.
all
Can't
those things.
Well, that's a different scenario, but it's like a smaller locker room. I think that's
Mhm.
the issue there. They want to renovate it to make it a little bigger. I know like Clark Hunt is another one who's pretty bad on those ratings too, but he's masked because it's the Chiefs.
Mhm.
I think the main thing too, it's with RD2, like he's never really made like a big decision. He's afraid. Like to speak of a proper Tomlinism, he lives in his fears. Like he doesn't. I mean, sometimes you have to try because like in a Tomlin situation, I think he's a good coach, but he's been well past his expiration date. I see it
Mhm.
as like an Andy Reid and Philly situation.
Exactly.
Like you see, like okay, both these guys need to split off for the better of themselves and be able to evolve. Remember, Andy Reid didn't evolve until he left Kansas City, and he was forced to because of years of failure and getting Patrick Mahomes. Philly took a while too, but at the same time, they got a ring out of it. And I feel like that's the situation we're in right now. I feel like it's just like it's not working anymore. You just need to split for the sake of just like the betterment and self-development of both coach and team.
Mhm.
But they're not going to do that.
No, no, I think having only had three coaches in the past
Mm,
50 plus years leads into that as well. They like
mhm.
giving off the facade of we're the consistent team, we're the team that's always present kind of thing. So
Yep.
it's
I
just
I
being
just
content with complacency.
I
Yeah,
get
It's,
confused with how these owners I get really confused with their thought process because like I understand with the the three coaches and the 50 plus year, whatever the the
Mhm.
stat is or whatever, But like, if it's not working, and if you're stuck, like you said, they're stuck in a limbo, which by the way is like feels almost impossible to do in the NFL, right? Because like
It's a breakout because
you'll
just
you'll
the
see
cap
like
situation.
you'll see like NBA teams like be stuck at like the 8 seed, the 9 seed, the 10 seed
Yep.
like consistently. But like in the NFL, it's like Thomas has mentioned this. It's either like you're good or you're bad. There's really no middle, and it's like it doesn't really continue to the next year, or the year after, the year after. But it's this continue for this specifically the Steelers. It's this continuous year after, like barely missing the playoffs, getting bounced in the first round,
Hmm.
and it's like
And
I don't know. It's weird. And then like the ownership doesn't think that there's an issue, I guess. I don't know. I just
they're content with it, I feel
right.
like. And if
Right.
you look at a lot of the games they play, it's not really because of structure that they won. It's usually individual effort or the other team self-destructing. Not really as much
Right.
this year, but if you look at it, if it weren't for TJ Watt and Chris Boswell, you're a 5-win team. Boswell won them 2 games on his own, and TJ Watt just does anime shit most of the time. And it's just like, oh, punch the ball out. Like, well, hey, TJ Watt, let's go. Yay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Oh
the
my
high end talent bailing them out, like you always say.
Mhm.
Um,
oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And I mean, we see how like the Lions were in kind of the same boat, obviously worse than what the Steelers are in right now, but the Lions were in that boat of ownership being for the longest time complacent with, you know, mediocre to bad football and
Mostly
never
bad.
making, I mean, with Stafford, they never made moves to bring actual talent in. They never made moves
No.
to actually retain their talent. And
No.
now, the ownership,
They ran
shifted
off
and new
talent.
philosophy came in and you
Hmm.
see how that changes. Just switching up ownership,
Yeah.
having someone who
I
actually
mean,
wants
look
to
at
win.
Washington. Look at
Mhm.
Washington. I
Yeah.
mean, especially now that you have Josh Harris, who has mixed results in Philadelphia and New Jersey, but the fact that it's not Dan Snyder is
Mhm.
just a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it's night and day with that franchise.
Mhm.
Yeah. 100%. That honestly, shout out to the Commanders. I mean, I know we just got our ass beat by them, but they did a complete 360, like complete 360. They were a poverty franchise for a while with Snyder as, being head ownership and everything and all of the negative things that he brought with him too. And,
Mhm.
obviously making that switch was crucial. And yeah, who do you got in the championships? I know I watched your playoff
Yeah.
hater edition video and you said
Mhm.
Chiefs Eagles. Are you sticking with that?
I'm sticking with that one, man.
Fair,
I just the
fair.
thing is the Eagles rushing attack's really strong, and the Chiefs they play a very demoralizing Patriot style football. They're just very precise, methodical, short passes, just
Yep.
keep it easy. And then
Mhm.
Travis Kelce's wide open in the middle of the field for some
Yep.
reason, and then
Oh,
just runs for a 30-yard gain. That's just how they roll.
yeah.
I mean, they're a strong team. They buckle down when it needs to be. I know people are going to bitch about the referees with them, but the problem is, like they didn't play special teams and they are not offensive linemen for the Texans. That's why they lost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I have a hard time saying it not being Chiefs Eagles, to be honest, too.
It's just
I
that's just gross though. Like that game is gross. I
It
probably
is
won't
gross,
watch
but
that
at the end of
game.
the day, I feel like it's just, we're all just resigned to it.
mhm.
But the problem
Yeah.
is, if it's Chiefs commies, like it is going to be the first time in American history that the majority of the nation is openly rooting for commies. Like that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly. It would be
That's funny.
very funny if they decided to come out the day before the Super Bowl and say we're changing our name back to the
To the
Redskins.
Redskins. Oh, dude, there's like traction like from some of their fan base that are trying to go up. I mean, at least they had an identity with that. Like
Mhm.
Commanders is just so bland. That's why
Yeah,
everyone calls them the
no.
commies. It's just like,
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was better as just being the Washington football team. That at
the
least
football team. Oh, at least
was
it was
unique.
tongue in cheek, and you could just laugh at
Yeah.
I like the meme where it's like, "Oh fuck, you're gonna make me calm."
it.
That shit's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But
I think the Bills, if the Chiefs are going to go down any year, I feel like this is the year that they might go down. I mean, you've seen them kind of have a lot of one score games in the regular season. Obviously, that hasn't wasn't reflected in the Texans game, but There's something about this Bills team that I do
Hmm.
think has a serious shot at pulling this off, just with how Joe Brady's offense doing really well. Their running game is actually chugging along for once in a long time. So,
My concern with Buffalo is their defense. I know they've been giving up like a good chunk of yardage for the most part, and that's my worry. Josh Allen's going to have to play like MVP God mode, which he could do. He did during the regular season.
Yeah.
But Buffalo against Chiefs in the playoffs, that always just seems to be like, I'm just waiting for the moment, like, okay, when's the heartbreak going to happen?
Yep.
When's it going to happen? It's just,
Yep.
I'm just waiting for it in the bottom of my mind because it's just how narratives work.
So I saw the maybe it'll be
So
wise
all the
last
script
comment.
writers, where the script writers, what are they writing? I don't
Seriously.
want to know.
yeah,
Chiefs Eagles again.
another
Is it
six
going to be
second
a Josh
comeback.
Allen injury somewhere? Is it going to be like that?
I mean,
Please no.
if they're gonna make one team three-peat, it's gonna be the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So I
Oh, of
mean,
course.
when it happens, we can't say we were surprised because if the script writers are real, then what other team would they have win this year other than the Chiefs
Yeah.
to kind of take over as that dynasty of
The Eagles, maybe, but like even then, I feel like nobody wants the Eagles to win outside of Philly.
right?
I think the better script is Josh Allen and Hurts get injured, and their teams pull it
Oh.
out, and then you get Trubisky, Pickett, Super Bowl.
Oh, that'd be great. I don't think that's gonna happen though. I mean, I wish it did. Or
Trubisky
you
pick.
do get, or Mahomes gets injured and you get a Carson Wentz versus Philly Super Bowl.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think it's
okay.
gonna happen, but
I
you
mean,
never know.
Mahomes always has his issues in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
they had
His
this
So
ankle
last year
issues.
too, and then he's like, "Oh, look, I'm just gonna run repeatedly, nonstop for 20-yard gains." He does this every year.
completely
Come on.
unfazed, but he
I mean,
has
like,
ankle
oh no,
issues.
my ankle hurts. Oh, I just threw for 300 yards, touchdown, game over. That's what he does.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's so funny. Oh,
yeah,
what a
yeah.
fun NFL season.
It has been a
Mhm.
very interesting season.
It's one of the seasons of our time, if I say so myself.
So the Jaguars fired their general manager, and
Yes,
we're
Trent
seeing
Baalke.
Cohen out of Tampa Bay giving him a second shot for an interview.
Yes,
I think
apparently
that is the funniest thing in the world.
Tampa isn't able to contact him or something. Apparently now they've able to
He
contact Todd Bowles, but it's
he signed a deal, right, to stay with them, and then he went back for another interview with the
he
Jaguars.
never actually signed the deal. Apparently,
He
he
just
never
like
actually signed it, and
verbally
I
agreed.
think that might be why.
Mm,
I
Interesting.
don't know what to tell you. I mean, as I said, it's like it seems like I mean, dude, Shad Khan needed to get rid of Trent Baalke. I mean,
mm,
he botched two coaching searches. And maybe even if Liam Cohen doesn't work, I feel like that dude should get a statue outside of Duvall just for getting rid of Trent Baalke.
mm. Yeah, imagine being Trent Baalke right now, and you read that Liam Cohen's like, "Oh, I'll come back for an interview now that Trent Baalke's
Mhm.
gone."
Right? It's like,
Just,
oh, okay, I'll come back, and then they're gonna throw him all the money, and all right.
but then
It
to
kind of reminds me of Pitt with Todd Graham. Remember when Todd Graham rejected him? They brought in the one guy, Michael, I think it was Caldwell. And then what happened was that he got fired because of domestic abuse allegations. I think they were actually ruled false over time, but they went back to Todd Graham and threw him all the money. It's like, here, come to coach us. And then he's like, oh, see you. I'm out next year. I mean, if it's like that, I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, hey,
yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I'd want to take a coaching job without a GM in place though either, because for all you know, the worst guy's going to come and take Baalke's spot. I don't.
I think the thing with Cohen too, it's that I mean, he's going to bring in his own guys, GM. I think it's going to be like one of those pairing things like Shane and Dable in New York. Probably one of those rules.
Okay. Tyler, how's your inner Lions fan doing? This past week, knowing that you don't got football to watch this weekend.
It sucks. Like on it, like you think that this year is gonna be your year, which in retrospect, obviously it was not gonna be our year with the IR injuries and the injuries in general. Um, but yeah, it sucks because like I was like, all right, expecting the Lions in the Super Bowl. I have, to look. I get to look forward to these games, and now I am not looking forward to them. On top of that, I hate the Chiefs. I don't like Patrick Mahomes, and I'm gonna have to watch them make a Super Bowl again. And I don't like
Hmm.
Philly, and I don't like Jalen Hurts, and I'm gonna have to watch them make a Super Bowl again, most
Yep.
likely. And it's gonna be my least favorite Super Bowl, that matchup that could have happened, and I'm gonna have to sit there and watch it anyways because that's what I'm gonna get fed by the NFL. So
Yeah.
it's a double whammy because like one, the Lions aren't in it, and two, it's gonna be Chiefs and Eagles again, and I'm gonna want to puke watching the game the whole
I think that's you and a bunch of the football world right now.
time. It's
And
unfortunate.
we're all still going to watch it. And it's just
Yep.
like the football fatigue is going to be very, very real. And I'm like,
Well,
oh,
I was like, my buddies were like, we're still gonna get together for the Super Bowl. I'm like, dude, if it's Chiefs Eagles, I'm not gonna watch it. And after I've taken time to think about that, I'm definitely going to watch that game
yeah. I
still.
mean, just go to the just go and eat like chips and watch commercials. That's what everyone
Right,
does anyway.
right, yeah,
I mean, for
exactly.
me, I'm gonna stream it, so I'm like, I have to watch it for what
Right,
I do. And I'm like, ugh, come
yeah.
on. My TV's pointed this way. That's why I'm going to be pointing. It's like,
Hmm.
well, Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift is now on the field, and she is pegging Travis Kelce, Super Bowl MVP. That they are getting married and
Good for
happily
Trav. Good
ever
for
after.
Trav.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
Sure.
if he's into that sort of thing, good for him. I'm just spitballing. I don't know if he is.
No, but I mean that is kind of the whole thing everyone's picturing at this point, you know.
Yep.
If it is Chiefs
Yeah.
Eagles, it's just going to be a repeat of what, 2, 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Uh, uh,
It's not.
Two is correct. I think it is
Two,
two.
2 years ago.
It's.
Yeah. The worst part is I'm not happy if either team wins because one, like I said, I hate the Chiefs and I hate Patrick Mahomes,
Hmm.
and two, I hate Philly in general. So
Hmm.
it's a lose-lose. The only thing would be it'd be cool to see Saquon get a Super Bowl, I guess, because I do
Mhm.
like Saquon.
After years of
Yeah,
being on a team that's
yeah,
absolute ass, seeing
yeah,
Saquon have success is
yeah,
the
Of
one
course.
caveat of the Eagles.
yeah,
Who
Worst
definitely.
scenario, man.
who would have thought that it just takes leaving a terrible franchise to be
Yeah, yeah.
to finally be able to be in
To rush for
MVP
2,000 yards
conversations?
and be an MVP candidate and be in the NFC Championship. Yeah, who would have thought?
Oh yeah, be pretty bad.
Mm.
Pretty bad.
Tyler, I was the same way about the national championship for college football. I'm not going to watch this. I don't like Notre Dame or Ohio State, even though you keep telling me I'm Ohio State fan for some reason.
No, Thomas is a clause.
No, I'm not.
Me and Thomas both went to Michigan State and graduated from there.
Oh,
Wait,
I
wait.
mean, I was gonna say Michigan. And I'm like, oh crap, you poor fools. You had to deal with Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Oh
Mm,
no, we went to Michigan State. But Thomas is actually a closet
no, I'm
Ohio
not.
State fan.
I
So I
I
don't
am
know
not.
what it is, but
They have great players.
Every time I bring up Ohio State, he has something, positive to say about them, or he reinforces. It's
Tyler,
weird.
all I said was they had that Ohio had Cedar Point. That's all I said.
Well, usually if you're from Michigan, you don't really have anything positive to say about Ohio in the first place. Thomas was like bringing out the reinforcements when I was like, Ohio isn't like, there's nothing there. He's like, Cedar Point's there. There's this there. I'm like, all right, dude. I get it. You're a big Ohio fan. It's fine. I'll leave it alone. I'll drop
Cost
it.
of living's reasonable. I like Columbus,
Is
but
Columbus
that's
nice? I've
different.
never been.
It's a nice city. The thing is, it's very open, spacious. Cost of living's really low. But the problem is, like, it's a college town. There's not much to really
Right.
do as a pro athlete. I think that's why a lot of like the Blue Jackets players tend to leave. But as I
Right.
said, like it's like a Pittsburgh-sized city, which it's
Okay.
as I said, it's just
Mhm.
flat. That's the main thing. But it is scenic.
Okay. I see. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate Ohio State like a Michigan fan would. I don't care for them either because they've been so good for so long. It's just you get sick of seeing them too, and
Yeah.
especially in the Big Ten and everything like that. So yeah,
Low key, I was rooting for Ohio State because I can't stand Notre Dame fans and just the
fair.
exposure of Notre Dame. And Notre Dame versus Penn State was my hell. I'm just gonna put it out there right now because I'm a Pitt fan,
Okay.
and it's not just that. There are a lot of Penn State fans around here, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh God, it's like, well, I mean, it's we're just waiting for the point where James Franklin happens, and well, he didn't even happen. It was Drew Aller
Mhm.
randomly
Yeah.
just
I
changed his
cannot
draft
believe
stock.
Drew Aller threw that ball. By the way, that was a horrible throw. What a terrible read.
Yep. And I mean, I thought he could have been a top 5 pick if he declared it's like, well, and there goes his draft stock.
See you for
See you
your
at Penn
senior
State
year,
next year,
buddy.
buddy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, for any surrounding fan base other than Ohio State, Notre Dame, that was probably a pretty hard watch.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, not many people watched it. It was only like 22 million. Like
Yeah.
the ratings were pretty low. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why they played it on a Monday night either, but I was like
I
kind of
don't know
like on
why
and
they
off
do that.
watching it, but I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that either.
I
I
think it's
don't.
because like they don't want to compete with football, but I feel like they should have done it on a Friday night.
I made a random parlay that cashed for $400, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
Did
pretty
you
cool.
use promo code UTREE?
I did
Are you
not.
tree on underdog?
No, I don't think you can use underdog in Michigan, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate.
No, I don't think you can.
I know, like, oh, you can use for underdog, you can use it for daily for like fantasy,
Yeah,
but you
I
can't
think
use it for
that
pick 'em.
yeah.
Because the thing
Yeah.
is, like, I can show my picks, but I can't actually do them. It's annoying.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my brother deals with the
Yeah,
same
that's
thing in
weird.
Wisconsin right now. He has to go to the casino if he wants to place bets on stuff, which
Yeah.
luckily he lives 5 minutes away from a casino
That's the
for
thing. I
him.
bet I'll put like a buck or two down. I'm just afraid of jinxing it all the time. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I remember a couple years ago, Patriots Steelers. I'm like, pound the under, pound the under, pound the under. I put like 20 bucks on it because I was so certain. They blow through the under and a half. I'm like, are you kidding me? It was
Exactly.
fucking Mitch Trubisky against Bailey Zappi. How does that go over?
Yeah, that's the one thing about betting. It's like it's it can be thrilling, but it's like, dude, you feel like you're the biggest fucking jinx 99% of the time.
Yes. That's
You
why I
feel
only
like
put like a buck or two down. Like I
right.
don't
You
put
feel like the
much.
biggest jinx in the world if whatever happens. You're like, is it like
Exactly.
this happened because I put money on them?
If I did the other way, it would be the polar opposite. I
Yep.
know this
Exactly.
works.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Life of a degenerate. I know what
Yes.
that is.
That's me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
I've managed
Um,
to stay away from the sports betting for the most part, but
I think there's a lot of like backlash to sports betting now. It's understandable. I mean,
it's so
shit's everywhere
weird.
now.
Yeah. I mean, like ESPN doing their own
Yeah,
thing with
ESPN has their
it.
own thing.
It's
I'm
like
just like, what?
it doesn't really make sense because then it like you could play into like the whole like script writing shit even harder if you want,
Exactly.
right?
yeah.
I
Like
mean, when you see stuff like Jonte Porter happen,
right,
where he's deliberately taking the under and pulling
right,
himself out of a game,
exactly.
I
Mhm.
mean, that just fuels it.
I mean,
And I
there's
know,
a saying that Vegas made the call, but it could quite literally get to that point. It feels like at least with how much they're doing with
and,
these different places,
yeah,
especially like ESPN, which is supposed to be like the lead thing of
the worldwide leader in
sports and
sport.
right.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
and the weird thing is, you don't even need much to do that. You only need a couple of referees or like people higher up that can just like
Right.
change a call
Mhm.
here or there, tweak some things. Like, I don't think they're rigged. The more argument is that they could be manipulated certain ways. If you like
Right.
a call's dropped or a call rises, that's a definite swing.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's real, but if it does come out, I'm not going to bat an eyelash. I'll be like,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
that sounds about right.
the thing is I saw it was the other day. I saw something. This ref went on like 60 Minutes and had this whole conversation. It was a while ago. It was like 2010, I want to say, or whatever.
Was it Tim Donaghy?
Yeah, it
Of
was
the
about
NBA?
AI. Yeah, it was about AI, right? How they like called him differently intentionally or something
Yep.
like that. They called fouls differently intentionally. I don't know. It's like if they were doing it back then, they could, like you said, not like they're rigging the game, but like certain calls can be
Yeah.
made, or like
Oh, yeah.
a certain ref could call this certain foul, more frequently, or whatever the case might be.
Lakers Kings in the NBA Western Conference Championship all those years ago. Like the Lakers had something like 43 throws to the Kings 15.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
that's
that's
that was a huge scandal. I
ridiculous.
think
Yeah,
Donaghy was involved in that one.
probably. Yeah, it's weird. It's crazy. I mean, trust me, I'm going to gamble still because that's just the type of, like you said, degenerate lifestyle is what I'm living right now. But I'm not going to say that it's 100% okay and there's nothing wrong with it too. So
Yeah, I think it's like weird that it's just like it's everywhere now. Because remember
right,
when I started in 16, 17, you didn't talk about that. Like it was taboo. Like like when I was a kid, like you only saw the odds on the last page of the sports section next to the transactions. Now
right,
Mhm.
you have open promos,
yep.
and I'm just like,
Over
I mean,
under
I'm part of
lines
the
are
problem. I'm
everywhere.
sponsored by gambling companies, but it's just
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period where they were talking about putting a like kiosk in the Breslin Center at MSU for
Or
some, I don't remember the company, but
a
there was
sports
like
book.
talks about it happening, some
Yeah,
sports
yeah.
book being put in the
Oh yeah,
Breslin Center.
Console Energy Center or PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. They have a sports book now.
That's insane.
Yeah, they have a sports book in the arena.
It's
That's
just wild,
insane.
especially like on a college campus like MSU. It's like these
Yeah,
kids
Yeah,
are
I
already
mean,
poor, and you're
oh, yeah.
encouraging
Well,
them to
it's not taken
gamble.
out of it, man. Hey, nothing wrong with betting like a couple bucks in a parlay, but the problem is most people are going to see it as like, okay, I'm setting thing, I'm going to put like my life savings on it, and it's
Hmm.
that's the problem. A lot of people don't
right,
think like, okay, I'm just going to put a buck or two down. I'm just
right. And
play money.
the gambling companies think they can get away from it by everything saying, "Oh, bet this, this, this," but bet responsibly, of
Well, of
course.
course, that's just a disclaimer for legality
Right,
purposes.
right,
That's
exactly.
mainly all it is.
Yep.
As I said, like I don't have a problem with gambling. It's just like I'm like, why is it everywhere? Okay, I
Right.
mean, there's money to be
Hmm.
made. Let's be real, but
Definitely. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just,
the floodgates were just opened,
oh, of
and
course, and
you
it's a
know,
wide open free reign. It's like go.
same thing with NIL. You know, it just got opened
Oh,
without any real consideration of maybe we need to regulate it a little
of
bit.
course, dude. People are
Yeah.
getting paid $8 to $10 million to transfer now.
Hmm.
You have a difference because remember, a little over 10 years ago, Terrell Pryor from Ohio State, he got suspended indefinitely along with a few other players for like autographing jerseys for $1,000.
Yeah.
And they weren't making any money. If you ever buy protein, shit's fucking expensive. Like Jim Tressel lost his job because of it. Now you have guys getting paid $8-10 million, and I think
Yep.
Pryor's suing the NCAA now for it.
I mean, as you should, honestly.
Yeah.
Same thing with Reggie Bush with what he got an apartment
Yeah.
or
Oh,
something at
yeah. No,
USC.
they bought his parents a house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, he
Insane.
did get his Heisman back, which is good, but
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's insane. I mentioned the MSU thing, but it was funny because earlier this year we played Washington in basketball,
yeah.
and Barry Sanders' kid, Nick Sanders, is on MSU's team as a walk-on. And they had a stat line because Washington basketball had a $2 million transfer student go there to specifically play basketball, and he put up 0 points against MSU. And they had a stat line. They had his 0 point stat line next to Nick Sanders' stat line, who's a walk-on at MSU, who scored a bucket. So it was like $2
Nice.
million transfer versus walk on at Michigan State. Like just absolutely insane the type of money that's getting tossed around for these kids to go
Of course.
and play a sport that isn't even, I mean, it's technically not professional, right? Like it's collegiate level sports. So like
But
I don't know.
most
It's
collegiate isn't even about academics anymore. I feel
yeah,
like it's more about just like prepping guys for the NFL. There was always the joke. It's that like they weren't really getting an education. Like some guys were getting educations, but for the most part, they were getting like joke classes, electives,
right.
nothing too crazy. That was
Yeah.
always like the joke at the time. But most of the time now, you're just focused on athletics. It's just like it's a feeder league. It's a minor league for
Yeah.
the NFL these days.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And main thing there is, okay, when does it stop? Because now, like you've kind of like that was the whole thing about college football. It was like the sanctity. It was about the like the school. It was never about the
Right.
player. And now it's there's been no balance. Now it's just like gone far the other side when it should have been slowly reared over anyway. It was way too far over here. Now
Yep.
it's all the way over there.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it was, they did it in such a bad way. Such a bad
They
way.
opened the floodgates at once. That's the
And I mean,
problem.
it doesn't help. Like when these kids are getting offered so much money, and they're gonna bounce around,
Of
and
course.
that's
You'd be
just not
foolish.
Hmm.
If you come from nothing, you
right.
grow up in the projects, you're
Yeah.
really good at football or basketball, and somebody's offering you 7 figures to move somewhere, you've never seen this kind of money. Your parents, you can buy them a house, you can bail them out, you can supply yourself for life if you're smart. Of course,
Yep.
you're going to take it.
And
Hmm.
school is gonna not even be a concern at that point either, because you're already getting paid to do that thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's always, because there's, I mean, going from collegiate to pro levels, there's always like, okay, well, this person might not get drafted, this person might get drafted high. There's always the up and down. So it's like, you gotta work for it. And school is more important than too, because at least you could have something to fall back on if
Mm.
your pro dreams don't work out, but at this point it's like, all right, I'll just take the money and run with it, and I'll deal with it at the end when I run out, I guess, or I
Of
don't make the
course.
pros, or whatever happens.
And not
And
just
they
that,
don't
you can
have the
always stay in
safeguards in
school.
place for like predatory NIL stuff. Like Gervin Dexter, when he was coming out of Florida, had an NIL thing that entitled the company he signed with to give him like a significant portion of his NFL contract for like the next 10 years. It's, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was like he's losing a lot of money to this company because he's getting drafted. And, they just don't have those safeguards in place or the
Yeah.
education in place for these kids either.
Yeah.
Cause I
And
mean,
they probably don't have lawyers look that
mhm.
over. I mean, you got to be careful about that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what probably did him in. It's like, okay, I'm just going to look at the lawyer. I need the money. I'll sign it. And they probably put that stuff on like page 57 of
Mhm.
75.
Right. In the
And then it's like,
finest
oh, nobody's
print
going to look
too.
at that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have like a team of lawyers looking over and analyzing every tooth and comb all over that sort of thing.
Right.
They don't.
I mean, the verbiage they use too, I'm sure is very, I'm sure these kids aren't going to
Yeah,
understand what they're reading in the first place
Very
either, too.
lawyery.
Right.
of course.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Because why would they not try to do that? Right. Like, I mean, it's fucked up, but it's going to happen. That's just the real world at this point?
Yeah. I mean, no such thing as a free lunch, unfortunately. There's
Yep.
always a way they try to get back at you.
Yep.
Now,
Trying
Tree,
to,
you also follow the Penguins, right?
yep,
A
I
little bit.
do.
How are you feeling? The team continues to get older and older. How are
hmm
you? Are you at the point where you want them to blow the core up, or are you kind of in the camp of just keep it together until Crosby wants to retire?
I'm going to be honest. I thought they should have done that after the Rangers series, but they were never going to do it because I'm like
Mhm.
at the point like, okay, that was your off point. You had a bunch of guys that were free agents. Malcolm was a free agent, Letang was a free agent, Raquel, Rust. But the moment they signed Rust, I'm like, yeah, they're going to keep everyone around. But I mean, you've locked yourself into this wheel. The first year, I mean, I just didn't think it would be this bad.
Mhm.
Like, it figured you'd at least be like the Red Wings, where you'd like make an like as a second wild card, get blown out in the first round. You're not even making the playoffs. And now you're at the point where you're considering a fire sale now because like the team's not good. Like the goaltending's been an absolute mess. Like Tristan
Mhm.
Jarry is completely unplayable.
Yeah, they finally
But
got they finally got him out of town.
yeah, I mean, the only reason why they signed him was because there was nobody else left.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, thank God he's guys like, ah, crap.
Yeah, I mean, the
I
moment
I, I never
Murray just
liked the I never liked the Ryan Graves deal. Just putting it out there
Mhm.
right now, but it's like I still didn't think he would be that bad.
yeah. And I feel like the moment that they chose, obviously they still got a second Stanley Cup out of it, but the moment they chose to keep Murray over Fleury, I think was kind of the beginning of the end for them in a way.
Let me argue about this because I keep hearing this argument. Let's go back to 2017. Matthew Murray was the younger goalie, cheaper, led you to back-to-back Stanley Cups, and the upside was there. Fleury
Mhm.
was your backup, and he was more or less just like an extra contract and obsolete. Every GM, like 30 out of 30, picks Murray over Fleury in that situation. And you couldn't predict that Fleury would have a revival and Murray would fall to injury. You just couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you there. I think I would make the same exact decision. It's just very unfortunate Murray didn't end up panning out
Yeah.
in the end as a
The
long-term
injuries,
solution at
man. I
goalie
mean,
because he
I
was
he was
phenomenal those two
first couple of
Stanley Cup
years.
runs, just
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And you know, the downfall of the goaltending, getting trapped into these big contracts for aging guys who just aren't playing up to standard that they need to reach. It threw them into purgatory of being a middling franchise at best.
Yep.
And
When Ottawa signed Murray to that deal, I'm like, oh, good luck with that.
mhm,
And it was just instantly regrettable. They traded him in a year.
yeah,
And now I think he's like in like the AHL, like gets a cup of coffee in the NHL every now and again. But it's like I said, the injuries just he is not the same. It's a shame.
so
Trying
in
to
your time as a YouTuber, how have you kind of seen like the NFL community like evolve over time? Like how is your kind of audience, how have you seen it kind of evolve in terms of like just their attitudes towards the NFL, or how they have you seen them kind of start to mirror your like thoughts on the NFL as well?
It varies sometimes. I mean, it's still you have that different those different arcs and variations, but the NFL scene has changed a good bit. I know like 16, 17, like there wasn't much. Now everyone wants a piece of the pie. Like NFL isn't trying to get heavy in there. ESPN has really had a big role, especially with acquiring McAfee, who came in around the same time. Like started out at Barstool and he was able to build that audience pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And I know I'm trying to think where else, but it's just like more or less like we just do our own thing. Nobody really has like drama anywhere. Like it's a pretty peaceful community. Like I like it. So it's more or less that's how it's really been. It's just it's like there's a room for everybody here. There's no real nobody's in real direct competition. It's just everyone offers something different. And it's just you have to make yourself different in order to capture the eyeballs. And I think my thing too, like I'm noticing like I don't know if it's just me, but there's more football fatigue, especially over the last like couple of years, adding the extra game. They're looking to add 18 games, another bye week probably, Super Bowl on President's Day, and fewer preseason games. The injuries are just out of control, but that's just because, you don't have enough time to warm up and it's just the players are faster, stronger, more agile than ever and you can't develop bones, joints, and ligaments. But at the same time, it more or less just, I feel like it's just like you have a lot of people who are just like, enough, I'm done. It's just like, it feels like you're kind of having people tap out now, which it was never like that, especially when I grew up.
Yeah, I'll speak to that too. Just especially at the beginning of the season this year, it was really tough to watch any football that obviously wasn't the Lions.
Yeah.
Just because, like, we being a Lions fan, we have like the rejuvenated feeling of like, okay, we have a good team finally to watch.
And you
So
have a
there is
fun
that
offense.
right. There's that excitement every week of like, okay, there's a good team, there's good product that's being put on the field. But just like some of these other games at the beginning of the year were so hard to watch. The offense was abysmal. It was slow starts and no, it was just like
It was sloppy. Like it
it's
wasn't even good defense. It was
it
just
was just
sloppy
like I'm
play.
sitting here watching this because I haven't watched football in months, and being a football fan, you watch football because you enjoy the sport, but you can
Hmm.
tell when you're getting an inferior product, and
Of course.
like football fatigue has definitely been growing recently, and I would say even for myself, it's been hard to watch some games because I'm just like, dude, I can't watch it. It's like garbage some of the time.
Oh yeah, I mean there were some bad games. Like even later in the year, it got even worse. Like Seattle, Chicago Thursday night. Oh my God,
Yeah, that
dude, it's
was
just like
abysmal.
I mean I get it's like a windy night, but dude, like you can't be that bad. Like it is
Yeah,
like you guys don't even practice.
right.
I mean, it just comes down to look, if I wanted to watch sloppy football, I'll go watch a middle school or high school game.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, you expect to be the best of the best, and there were just so many like games where it's just like you're making a bunch of unforced errors or just like sloppy, bad offensive line play, and I'm like,
All right. If I wanted to
what are we
watch
doing?
more games like the Bears Seattle game, I would watch Maction every Tuesday, right? Like,
Well, Maction at least is fun.
right. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
but
dude, I have to watch the Steelers. Trust me, it's miserable enough,
Yeah,
especially with them. And it was even worse last year.
yeah, that's fair.
yeah. At least
So I'm
there's
used
not
to
an
the
end
bad.
around every drive this time.
Oh, jet sweeps. Oh
Yeah, jet
God. Oh,
sweeps end
dude.
arounds. Yeah,
I mean,
nonstop.
Why is the halfback toss so consistent in the Steelers offense or the pitch or
because it
whatever
just
they
is the halfback
what?
toss, halfback dives, halfback power.
Halfback toss it to the slowest running back in the NFL. It's going to work
That's
for
what
Najee
you
it
guys, I
just
Harris.
makes
promise.
no
Yeah, I mean, if
sense.
you're gonna toss it to anybody, it would be Jalen Warren, but you're tossing it to Najee Harris and Cordero Patterson.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
Okay,
funny. It's almost like they'll do the halfback toss to Najee and then try to do the halfback dive or halfback power to Jalen
get
Warren.
Jalen Warren.
It's
Yeah,
supposed to be the
it's
other way around,
weird.
guys.
I yeah,
It's the sleight of hand. Do what you shouldn't be doing so that the other team thinks you're doing the other.
Halfback power to Justin Fields. That's how
Exactly.
you get it going.
there we go.
I think
Put
that
him in the
I
back.
think it'll be different
Honestly,
if we
put him
make
in
him
the
a kick returner
backfield.
this year. I think that's what we got to do to switch to turn things around.
Maybe
Gosh.
might be the only
What's up with
way.
Pickens, by the way?
I mean, he had those issues coming out of college. I know there was like a mental thing. Like, I mean, it's just like he would always get into fights, but like, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
He's
you're
just
actively just fighting people in the middle of games openly. I mean, during
Mhm.
plays. Like the game against Cincinnati was unacceptable. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna pull that shit, get the fuck out of the game. Like he was talking about like, having issues with the media. He said that shit after the Cleveland game, like, oh, they only lost because it was snowing. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
like you'd be lucky to be traded for a third round pick. And this has also been a trend of the Steelers. Like every wide
Mhm.
receiver turns into incorrigible cancer for I don't know.
And I
Maybe it's
always
in the
think
water.
it's funny because they like Steelers fans ran Juju out of town. And yeah, he was like doing some dumb TikTok shit, but at the end of the day, he wasn't a cancerous presence on the team.
I think the thing with Juju and why I was angry at him, he could have done that anywhere else. He could have done that on the 20-yard line or on the sidelines. I would have had no problem with it. It's the fact that he did it on the logo. Like the logo is supposed to be sacred. It's just showing a disrespect. That's my issue with it.
Mhm.
It's fair. Yeah. Yeah. Pittsburgh and their wide receivers is quite the storyline, honestly,
Chase Claypool.
at least of recent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Deontay Johnson. I mean,
Maple
he's even worse
Mapletron? Is
now.
that
What?
Mapletron? Chase Claypool?
Mapletron, yep. He got injured like in training camp, didn't play. Deontay Johnson was flipping out in the Texans locker room after a playoff win. He just got cut.
Yeah. Gosh, we'll see where he ends up if he ends
He
up.
went back to Baltimore.
Future Chief.
Yeah, he got traded. He might get a compensatory pick, but I doubt anyone picks him up. He might be going to the XFL or the UFL. Like,
Yeah.
why would you want to deal with a malcontent who can't perform?
Mhm.
He ran himself off Carolina, ran himself off Baltimore,
Yep.
ran himself off Houston.
Yep.
And it's so disappointing because he had so much talent. He was a very shifty guy. He had the drop issues, of course, but
Yeah,
like,
but
he was
still,
consistently one
had
of the most
talent
open
as, like,
receivers
a
when he was with
wide receiver
Pittsburgh.
2, wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely. Yeah. Interesting.
Tyler, I got a trade proposal.
Sure.
I'll offer you Mike Tomlin for um, the ghost of Ben Johnson. Straight up.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take that offer if he's our defensive coordinator.
No, you got
I
to
don't
take
know
him
if he's
as a
going to want to be
coach.
defensive coordinator. But the problem is too, he has a no trade clause, so Tomlin would probably deny that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird spot because, like you said, no trade clause. Like they're not gonna fire him either. There's no reason to, right? Like, I mean, you said they don't care though. Obviously, they don't care where they're at. They don't care with the complacency. Like it is what it is. They're not gonna fire him because he's
Of course not. I mean,
it's
they're afraid of like making a move.
they
That's
get
the
their
thing.
yearly playoff appearance and then they get fucking walked out of
Yeah.
town and it's the end of the year and it's like, all right, let's do it all over again.
Yep, and that's why everyone's pissed in this town
Yeah.
because it's like this was supposed to be a team of excellence, and now you're just settling for being a CC plus team, and
Yeah.
it's just like you're getting bailed out by TJ Watt and Chris Boswell. How long can they do that? How long does Cam Hayward have left?
Yeah.
And now you're just sitting there like you're not going to do anything. You're not going to get rid of Terrell Austin, even though that would have been
A
a
move.
sacrificial lamb because Tomlin runs that defense. I mean, you're not firing Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach. The dude sucked at Carolina and got fired by Matt Rule. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's insane.
That's the problem.
It's insane.
And I know everyone says Steeler fans are spoiled, but it's like spoiled for what? So you get your ass beat in the wild card?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's
No,
not
nobody wants to be. I mean, first time it's like in a while, it's like okay, fine, great. But when it happens over and over again, you just get like, okay, great.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not spoiled if like that's what you're expecting to happen, right?
Yeah, like I expected
there's
to get
no-
our asses beat
yeah,
in Baltimore
exactly.
because they had terrible form.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life of a Steelers fan.
Mm-hmm. Brad Q days of our Steelers. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Well, I think that's all
Yeah.
we've got for today.
Have fun,
You
man.
Tree, do you want to shout out your channel real quick to everyone who might be
Absolutely.
listening?
Definitely, man. I'm under Urinating Tree on YouTube, Urinating Tree on Twitter or X or wherever you want to call it. Urinating_tree on Instagram. Don't really post on there all that often, but eventually I do. I just like post like some random baseball stuff on there every now and again. I suck at it, so just how it goes. But otherwise, I mean, thank you guys for having me on. I know it's been a while, but I'm finally glad I was able to get some time to join you.
No,
Well,
we appreciate
you
it
being
so
on,
much.
man.
Thanks for
This
hopping
is
on.
Absolutely, man.
this is awesome
Thank
to
you.
have you on.
Yeah,
Rock
we
on.
appreciate it.
All right. Well, everyone listening at home, this is Knowing Ball. We are on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Tyler still needs to get our Twitter running because he keeps promising to do that, but he refuses.
It's tough. I mean,
It's
it's just like
so
always like
hard.
it
It's
gets like
so hard.
it falls back in your back line. It's like, oh, should I do it? Nah, I got other
Especially
stuff to
Well,
because
and
do.
it's like
we don't
I
pay for
gotta.
Twitter Blue either, so
It's
it's
like,
Yeah,
like
what
there's
am I
no
gonna
point.
do? Just am I just gonna like BS all my like just BS a bunch of tweets or
that's
like
what I
what?
do. I
Like,
BS a bunch of tweets.
I mean, I
That's all
guess,
I
yeah.
do.
But I was thinking like I want to like post clips and shit, but that's like a whole nother thing too, because it's like I have to get the clips and I have to record this and then take it into a different. It's yes, but I promise I will when I get. I just got a new job too, so when I get settled in my new job, I will
Nice.
work
Where are
on
you
getting.
working at now, brother?
I work at Michigan State actually.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just got a
Congratulations,
job.
man.
I just got a job there, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that
Thank you. I
was
appreciate that too.
that was the thing for both of us for for a couple of years. We were both really trying to get in somewhere, and so we both finally got
Yeah.
one, and now we can have a consistent recording schedule too, which is nice.
Well, because previously I was working two jobs. I was working
Mhm.
two part-time jobs,
Mhm.
busting my ass every day.
I
Like
know that
didn't
feeling.
get didn't get the weekends off, anything. It's like I'm literally working my life away. And then Tom's just like, "All right, when do you want to record this week?" I'm like, "Let me check all of my fucking schedules I have and try and fit something in for an hour."
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah, I get it.
That's how I used to work with me in the restaurant industry when I was back in the day. Like
yep,
weekends, bye. Like, it's like I
Yep.
couldn't plan anything for
yeah,
that
I
same
was I
reason.
was a server, so I was
Oh yeah,
serving
same here.
and I
Sorry.
was working from home. So it was like I had two things that were taking up an abundance of my times, and the weekends were hard too. Because when I'm not working, and let's say I work like at 4 p.m., I want to lay around and not do shit because I've been working all week too.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Or you want to try and plan a night out or something. You don't
right,
want to like
exactly, yeah,
do other stuff. It's
yeah,
understandable.
definitely. So
Yeah, no,
yeah, but it's nice. So
I get it,
one
Tyler. I was
one
fortunate
job now.
enough to let my parents let me stay with them for while I was looking for a full-time job.
Yeah,
I
But
recognize
still,
I recognize I
adulting,
was very
paying
fortunate to
bills.
have
Yeah,
that. So,
yeah, I tried to get out. Like the last time I moved in with my parents was actually during, or my mom was actually during the pandemic. She asked me to move in with her. So
gotcha.
was there
Yeah,
for a couple months. So
yeah,
it's not a fun feeling when you're out of college. You have to move back.
mhm.
yeah. No,
Not fun.
But
no.
we're all set now, right, buddy?
Yes, sir. At
Yeah,
least
bud.
trending that way. So yeah.
Yeah, barring, well, we're not going to get laid off.
I don't think a school is going to light people
No,
off. Like
No, we should be
it's,
good.
you're too ingrained into the woodworks now, and you've only
oh
been there
yeah.
for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
unless they
Yeah.
like change their mind. I don't think they're going to do that quickly. I mean, if
No,
they do, they'll offer you like an unemployment or severance package, but
Yeah, no, we're
I
we're
don't think that's
chilling.
going to happen. No.
I'm
we're good.
happy.
We're
Good.
good. He's
Yeah,
all
you're
set.
good.
We're
You're good.
we're in good place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it again. It
Yeah,
was
of
it was
course.
genuinely it was nice talking to you and
Absolutely.
laughing and just chopping it up for a second. So I
Definitely.
appreciate
Pleasure
it.
talking with you guys too, man. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
we'll try to keep in touch.
Definitely, brother.
It's great having you on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Thank you, man.
Awesome.
Thank
All
you
righty.
guys.
Peace out,
Peace
everybody.
out.
Peace out.